I transmigrated as a nobody until the Alpha Queen found her giant snake curled up in my lap.my eyes opened to a spinning ceiling. Everything felt wrong. The room, the furniture, even my own hands looked different. I touched my chest and felt an unfamiliar sensation light soft. This body wasn't mine. What's happening? I whispered, pressing my palm against my ear. Even my voice sounded strange, thin, delicate, feminine in a way I didn't recognize. Then the memories came. Not like a gentle stream, like a flood. A violent, disorienting torrent of images and feelings that didn't belong to me. A novel I had read in my previous world. Lunar Crown's Forbidden Mate. And now I was inside it. Raven Ashford. That was my new name. A forgotten Omega. A palace servant. So insignificant that the novel mentioned her in exactly one line. A servant past. That was it. My entire existence in the original story. This has to be a joke, I muttered, though my trembling hands suggested otherwise. I had actually become Raven. A background character. Set dressing. Someone who cleaned floors and fetched tea and never ever mattered. Someone pounded on the door. Raven. Late again. Princess Aurora wants you in the gardens immediately. Hurry up. Princess Aurora. The novel's female lead. Beautiful, elegant, cunning. She was engaged to Queen Valerica Blackridge, the kingdom's most powerful and ruthless alpha. Their marriage wasn't built on love. It was pure political alliance, a merger of two powerful families to secure the borders and stabilize the crown. In the novel, Valerica's true love came later. A brave Omega who challenged her authority and won her heart. Someone strong, defiant, destined. And me? I was just background scenery. All right, Raven. I took a deep breath, steadying my racing heart. Stay low profile. Avoid drama. Survive. Don't interfere with the plot. I dressed in my servant's clothes, simple gray cotton, worn at the edges, and stepped outside. The palace corridors were breathtaking. Long and magnificent, with marble floors that reflected the morning light and golden pillars that seemed to stretch toward heaven. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, creating rainbow patterns everywhere I looked. Guards stood at every corner, tall, armored, intimidating. Their eyes swept over me and found nothing worth noting. I navigated toward the kitchen area, where I was supposed to receive my assignment. The head maid, Miss Lorelei, spotted me and rolled her eyes with theatrical irritation. Late again, Raven. She checked her clipboard with exaggerated precision. Today you'll clean the East Gardens. Princess Aurora will be walking there this afternoon. Everything must be spotless. Understood. Yes, Miss Lorelei. East Gardens. This location wasn't mentioned much in the novel. A quiet corner of the palace grounds, rarely visited by anyone important. Perfect. I could work quietly there without drawing attention. I gathered my supplies, a bucket, brushes, cloths, and made my way through the winding corridors toward the eastern wing. The air grew fresher as I walked, carrying the scent of flowers and earth. Sunlight spilled through open archways. But when I reached the gardens, something made me freeze completely. A massive snake. No, not just a snake. An enormous black python, coiled on a marble ledge beside the fountain, basking in the sunlight. Its scales were so shiny they looked almost mirror-like, each one catching the light and throwing it back in fragments of obsidian. The size was impossible to process, at least 15 feet long, maybe more. Whoa. I stopped, carefully setting down my cleaning supplies. My heart pounded, but not from fear. This was Nyx, Queen Valerica's personal companion. The novel mentioned this creature, a deadly python that only trusted the Alpha Queen. Legends said Nyx had killed invaders and traitors who ventured too close. The snake was dangerous, unpredictable, bonded to Valerica in a way no one fully understood. But I had always loved snakes. In my old world, I watched nature documentaries constantly. Reptiles fascinated me, their grace, their ancient stillness, the way they seemed to exist outside of human time. I had handled snakes before, volunteered at reptile rescues, even considered becoming a herpetologist. If I work quietly, maybe it won't be disturbed. I try to circle around the fountain, keeping my distance, moving slowly. Nyx lifted its massive head. Its golden eyes, slitted and intense, fixed directly on me. The snake's tongue flickered out, tasting the air, tasting me. I froze. My breath stopped. Then Nyx moved. Not away, toward me. Slow, deliberate, unhurried. The massive body uncoiled with a sinuous grace that made my knees weak. Easy, buddy. I raised my hands slowly, palms out, the way you would with any wary animal. I won't hurt you. Promise. The snake approached my hand. Its head hovered there for a moment, testing, evaluating. And then, it pressed its head against my palm. Like it was asking for pets. Wait. Seriously? I stood there in shock, my hand pressed against cool, smooth scales. Nyx made a low, satisfied sound, something between a hiss and a hum, and its entire body relaxed. The massive coils loosened. The tension drained away. Slowly, carefully, I began to stroke its head. The scales were smoother than I expected, like polished stone. Warm from the sun. Nyx leaned into my touch. Then it did something I never expected. It uncoiled further and slithered closer, resting its massive head in my lap. The weight was substantial, but not crushing. The snake's body curled around me like a living blanket. You're behaving exactly like a puppy, I whispered, laughing softly. My fingers traced the patterns on its head, gentle and rhythmic. So big and scary, but a softie inside, aren't you? Nyx made more contented sounds. The tip of its tail moved lazily, idly, like a cat's. I became so absorbed that I didn't realize someone was watching. Then a shadow fell over me, slow, dark, consuming. I looked up, and my breath left my body entirely. Queen Valerica Blackridge stood before me. Black armor gleamed in the sunlight, fitted perfectly to her tall, powerful frame. A crimson cloak billowed slightly in the breeze, dramatic and commanding. Her hair was silver, unusual and striking, falling in waves past her shoulders, framing a sharp jawline and high cheekbones that could have been carved by a sculptor. And those eyes. Deep gray, like storm clouds gathering over a winter sea. Cold, calculating, drilling straight into my soul. My entire body froze. Omega instinct screamed at me, Alpha. Powerful. Submit. But I couldn't move. I could only stare. Valerica said nothing. She just watched, silent, still, her expression unreadable. But her presence was so overwhelming that I felt like the oxygen had thinned. Like the world had shrunk to the space between us. Her gaze moved to Nyx, comfortably coiled in my lap. Then back to me. I quickly pulled my hand away. I'm so sorry, Your Majesty. I didn't know. Who are you? Her voice was low, deep, controlled. But there was an underlying intensity that sent shivers through me. Something dangerous lurking beneath the calm. Raven, Your Majesty. Raven Ashford. I'm a palace servant. I was sent to clean the gardens and Nyx never allows strangers near her. Valerica took a step forward, slow, deliberate, like a predator circling prey. Her gray eyes never left my face. She only trusts me. And occasionally Dr. Estelle, who treats her when necessary. I swallowed hard. I genuinely didn't know, Your Majesty. She came to me on her own. I didn't do anything. I've always been good with snakes. I stopped myself. In my old world wasn't something I could say. I just stayed calm. She seemed curious. Valerica's eyes narrowed slightly. Then she looked at Nyx. Nyx, she said sharply. Come. The python immediately responded. It uncoiled from my lap, reluctantly, it seemed, and gracefully slithered to Valerica, stopping at her boots in an obedient pose. But Nyx's head kept turning back toward me, golden eyes tracking my movements. Valerica's focus remained on me. She looked at me like I was some kind of puzzle. An anomaly. Something that didn't make sense. "You're different," she said slowly, as if processing her own thoughts. "I don't understand, Your Majesty." Valerica didn't answer. She just studied me for one more moment, long enough for me to notice the way her nostrils flared slightly, as if she was scenting the air. Her jaw tightened. Then she turned, her cloak swirling behind her, and walked away. Nyx followed, but the snake glanced back at me twice before disappearing around a corner. I stood there trembling, waiting for my heartbeat to return to normal. What just happened? Queen Valerica Blackridge had seen me, noticed me. And this wasn't in the novel's plot at all. A forgotten character, the Alpha Queen wasn't supposed to notice them. Then the realization hit me. Something has changed. And I didn't know whether this was good or bad. My mind raced with possibilities. In the original story, Valerica barely interacted with servants. She was cold, distant, focused entirely on her duties and the upcoming political marriage. The only time she showed warmth was later in the novel, when she met her destined Omega, the brave, strong character who would challenge her authority and eventually win her heart. But that wasn't supposed to happen yet. And it definitely wasn't supposed to involve me. I picked up my cleaning supplies with shaking hands and tried to focus on my work. But every few minutes, I found myself glancing at the spot where Valerica had stood, replaying the encounter in my mind. Her eyes had been so intense. Not angry, curious. Intrigued. "Stop it, Raven," I muttered to myself. "You're reading too much into this. She was just surprised about Nyx, that's all. Tomorrow she'll forget you even exist." But deep down, I knew that wasn't true. Something fundamental had shifted. The story I thought I knew, the plot I was trying so desperately to avoid, had already begun to change. And I was right in the center of it. The next morning, I woke up in my tiny servant's quarters still thinking about yesterday's encounter. Queen Valerica's intense stare. Her voice. Everything kept replaying in my mind. It was just a coincidence. She came because of Nyx. She has no interest in me. I'm just a background character. But then someone knocked on my door. I opened it to find Miss Lorelei, though her expression was different this time, surprised, slightly unsettled. "Raven," she said, glancing at her clipboard as if she didn't believe what was written there. "You've been summoned to the Queen's private wing." My heart sank. "What? Why?" "I don't know. Just go. Quickly." With nervous steps, I made my way to the palace's north wing, where the Queen's personal chambers and offices were located. Fewer servants worked here. More guards. The atmosphere was completely different, quieter, more intimidating, charged with an energy that made the hair on my arms stand up. A guard stopped me in front of a large oak door. "Raven Ashford?" "Yes." She opened the door. "Enter." The chamber was spacious, appointed with dark mahogany furniture and bookshelves filled with ancient tomes. A massive desk sat in the center, covered with maps and documents sealed with black wax. The windows were tall and arched, letting in pale morning light. And in the center of it all, Queen Valerica stood by the window, her back to me. I entered. The door closed behind me with a soft click that felt deafening. "Your Majesty," I said, bowing my head. "You summoned me?" Several seconds of silence. I could hear my own heartbeat. Then Valerica turned toward me. Today, her appearance was less formal. No armor, just a simple black tunic and fitted pants. Her silver hair was loose, falling over her shoulders. But her presence was still overwhelming. Still made my Omega instincts hum with awareness. "Yesterday," she began, crossing her arms. "You were with Nyx." "Yes, Your Majesty." "I apologize again if Nyx accepted you." Valerica cut me off. Her gray eyes were sharp, assessing. She never behaves that way. Never. I remained silent. What was I supposed to say? Valerica moved closer. I held my ground, even though every instinct screamed at me to step back. Animals, she had said. They sense things humans don't. What had Nyx sensed in me? Your scent, Valerica said suddenly, her eyes focusing on me with renewed intensity. It's calm. Most omegas have an overwhelming scent, deliberately strong, to attract attention. But yours is subtle. Soothing. I didn't know if this was a compliment or just an observation. Thank you, Your Majesty. Valerica's joy tightened slightly. She turned and walked back to her desk, picking up a scroll. Starting today, she said, her voice brooking no argument, you'll care for Nyx. Daily. Morning and evening. What? This is an order. Valerica looked at me, firm and final. Nyx trusts you. So you'll become her caretaker. Dr. Estelle will brief you on her diet and routines. Any questions? I had so many questions. Why me? Why does this matter? What do you want from me? But all I could say was, no, Your Majesty. Good. You may leave. I turned to go. Raven. I stopped. If Nyx experiences any discomfort, inform me immediately. Yes, Your Majesty. When I stepped outside, my heart was still racing. I leaned against the wall for a moment, trying to catch my breath. I had just become Queen Valerica's personal snake caretaker. This definitely wasn't in the novel. The next few days were strange. Every morning and evening, I went to a designated garden area where Nyx was kept. Dr. Estelle, a kind-faced beta woman with spectacles and an easy smile, explained Nyx's diet to me. Rabbits, chickens, occasionally deer. She taught me how to check the snake's health, what signs to watch for if she was uncomfortable. But the strangest part was that Queen Valerica was always there. Sometimes she read reports on a stone bench nearby. Sometimes she practiced sword forms on the grass, her movements precise, deadly, beautiful in a way that made it hard to look away. Sometimes she just sat and watched me. Watched Nyx. Watched both of us. The first day, I tried to ignore it. She's busy. It's a coincidence. The second day, I thought maybe she was checking on Nyx. The third day, I understood. She was observing me. On the fourth day, while I was gently brushing Nyx's scales, Dr. Estelle said it helped with shedding. Valerica suddenly asked, "How long have you been here?" I looked at her. She was still reviewing her reports, but I could tell her attention was on me. 3 months, Your Majesty. 3 months. She repeated it slowly. Then why haven't I seen you before? Because I'm a background character, I wanted to say. But instead, I'm not very noticeable, Your Majesty. I mostly do cleaning or kitchen work. Valerica set down her reports. Her gray eyes looked directly at me, really looked, in a way that made my skin feel warm. You are now. 2 words. Simple. But their weight pressed against my chest. I don't understand. You're noticeable now, Valerica clarified. Then she returned her focus to her reports, as if she hadn't said something so casual yet profound. My heart was racing. My face felt warm. I turned back to Nyx, hoping the snake's bulk would hide my expression. What does she mean by that? On the 5th day, something different happened. I was feeding Nyx a rabbit already prepared when Princess Aurora arrived. Her handmaidens accompanied her, all dressed in beautiful gowns of cream and gold. Aurora herself wore a stunning emerald dress that complemented her dark hair and pale skin. Oh, Aurora smiled, but her eyes were cold. Calculating. You're Raven, right? The new snake caretaker. I quickly bowed. Yes, Princess Aurora. She looked at Nyx, who showed absolutely no interest in her. The snake's golden eyes remained fixed on me, waiting for more attention. Interesting, Aurora murmured. I thought Queen Valerica handled Nyx herself. Circumstances have changed, Princess, I said politely. Aurora's smile tightened. She studied me for another second, assessing, measuring, cataloging. Then she turned and walked away, her handmaidens trailing behind her. But one of them, a sharp-faced woman with dark eyes, gave me a look as she passed. A warning. Aurora is getting suspicious. I realized, with a cold twist in my stomach, that in the novel Aurora was very possessive. She wanted everything under her control, including Valerica, even though she didn't love the queen. Even though their engagement was purely political. For Aurora, this was a game of power and status. And if she thought I was encroaching on her territory, this could be dangerous. That evening, when I was about to say goodnight to Nyx, yes, I had made it a habit, Valerica appeared. But this time she seemed different. Slightly hesitant. Almost nervous? Raven, she said. Yes, Your Majesty. Are you all right? I was confused. I'm fine. Why do you ask? Princess Aurora met with you today. Valerica's gray eyes were intense. Did she say anything? So she knows. The guards must have reported it. Of course they reported everything to the queen. Just greetings, Your Majesty. Nothing more. Valerica looked into my eyes, searching. Then she nodded slowly. If she or anyone makes you uncomfortable, tell me. My breath caught. Why would you? Because you're my responsibility. Valerica's tone was firm, final. You care for Nyx. And Nyx. She paused. She's important to me. Just because of Nyx. A strange feeling stirred in my chest. Disappointment? Hope? I couldn't tell. I understand, Your Majesty. Valerica started to leave, but stopped at the door. And Raven. Yes, good work. With Nyx. A pause. She seems healthier than before. Happier. Then she left. I stood there, listening to the sound of my own heartbeat, trying to understand what was happening to me. Why is Queen Valerica giving me so much attention? And why does it feel good? I returned to my quarters that night with more questions than answers. The novel's plot was supposed to be straightforward. Valerica would marry Aurora out of duty. Later, she'd meet her destined Omega, someone brave and defiant, and they'd fall in love despite obstacles. But none of that included a forgotten servant who could somehow connect with her python. None of that included daily encounters where she watched me work. None of that included her protective concern, or those moments when her cold mask seemed to crack, revealing something deeper underneath. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, and let myself imagine, just for a moment, what it would be like if she looked at me the way she looked at Nyx. Warm. Protective. Hers. Stop it, I told myself firmly. You're a servant. She's a queen. This is a novel. You know how it ends. But knowing how it was supposed to end didn't stop my heart from hoping. A week later, my body began behaving strangely. When I woke up that morning, I felt feverish. Not quite a fever, something else. My skin was sensitive, almost tender to the touch. My heart raced for no reason. And my scent. It was becoming stronger. Oh no. These were preheat symptoms. Omega heat cycles were mentioned in the novel. Cassion's Raven's body normally took suppressants that regulated heats. But maybe the medicine had run out. Or perhaps this transmigration had created some hormonal imbalance. This is terrible timing. I started to panic. During heat, Omegas become extremely vulnerable. Their pheromones intensify, attracting alphas. And being this close to an alpha queen, I can't tell anyone. I decided to finish my work quickly and lock myself in my quarters until the symptoms passed. One day, maybe two, I could survive that. But as I was leaving after feeding Nyx that morning, Valerica stopped me in the corridor. Raven. Her voice sounded different. Slightly more intense. There was an edge to it that hadn't been there before. Your Majesty. I kept my head down, hoping she wouldn't notice my scent. Are you well? She approached me, her gray eyes scanning my face. Yes, completely. She stepped closer. And then, I don't know if she meant to do it, she reached out and touched my wrist. Just a light brush of her fingers against my skin. But the contact was electric. A current ran through my entire body, leaving me breathless. Valerica's eyes widened. Her pupils dilated. Her nostrils flared. Your scent, she said, her voice dropping lower. It's intensified. She can smell it. I tried to pull my wrist back, but her grip, gentle but firm, held me in place. I need to go, Your Majesty. Raven. Her voice was deeper now, carrying an alpha command that made my knees weak. Tell me the truth. Are you going into heat? I couldn't speak. I just looked into her gray eyes, which had grown dark and intense. Valerica's jaw clenched. Something flickered across her face, concern, protectiveness, and something else. Something I couldn't name. Then, without warning, she lifted me into her arms. What, Your Majesty? Quiet, she growled. Not unkindly. But there was no room for argument. She carried me through the corridors, guards saluting, servants stepping aside, to a private section of the palace. The medical wing, used only by the royal family. She placed me gently on a bed in a private room, where Dr. Estelle was already waiting. Your Majesty, Dr. Estelle bowed. You sent an urgent message. Examine her, Valerica commanded. Now. Dr. Estelle gave me a professional look. Of course. Raven, please sit. Valerica started to leave, but stopped at the door. She'll be fine, Your Majesty, Dr. Estelle said gently. After a long moment, Valerica nodded reluctantly and closed the door. But I could hear her footsteps outside, pacing, restless, not leaving. Dr. Estelle examined me. Blood tests. Hormone levels. When the results came, her face grew serious. Raven, she said softly, pulling a chair closer. Do you know what fated mates are? My heart skipped. They're rare. True mates. Exactly right. She reviewed her report. Raven, your heat symptoms aren't artificial. This is your body responding to proximity to your fated mate. My breath stopped. Fated bonds are extremely rare, 1 in millions. When two destined souls meet, their biology responds. The Omega's body prepares for mating. The Alpha's protective instincts become extreme. My mind was spinning. But I don't understand. I'm not bonded to anyone. I'm not even. Dr. Estelle looked into my eyes, sympathetic but serious. Raven, your bond is already partially activated. The Alpha you're bonded to is very close to you. In regular contact. My hands began trembling. You mean? Blood work shows it clearly. Scent compatibility. Biological synchronization. She paused. Raven, your fated mate is Queen Valerica Blackridge. The world stopped. Everything went silent. My fated mate. Valerica. No, I whispered. This is wrong. In the novel. Dr. Estelle looked confused. Novel? Nothing. I grabbed my head. But this isn't possible. Queen Valerica is engaged to Princess Aurora. She can't be my mate. Biology doesn't lie, Raven. Dr. Estelle's tone was gentle. And if Valerica reacted to your scent, if she feels protective toward you, perhaps she's sensing it too. I couldn't speak. Shock, fear, and something else. Something I didn't want to accept. Hope. Dr. Estelle took my hand. Do you want to tell her? No, I said quickly. I can't. She's already engaged. Political alliance. The empire depends on her marriage. I can't complicate her life. Raven. Please. I looked at Dr. Estelle, pleading. This must stay secret. Dr. Estelle took a long breath. All right. I won't tell anyone. But fated bonds can't be ignored, Raven. Your symptoms will intensify. And Valerica, if she's also feeling the bond, she'll search for answers. I knew she was right. But what could I do? When I came out, Valerica immediately stood up. Her eyes focused directly on me, dark and searching. What happened? She demanded, approaching me. Are you all right? What did Dr. Estelle say? My throat tightened. I'm fine, I managed. Just hormonal imbalance. Dr. Estelle gave me medicine. Valerica's eyes narrowed. Just that? Yes, Your Majesty. She studied me. Every detail, every micro-expression. Then she took my hand gently but possessively. Her thumb brushed across my knuckles. Raven, if there's any problem at all, tell me. Her touch was warm, comforting, and my omega instincts were screaming, mate, safe, home. But I couldn't say anything. Thank you, Your Majesty. But I'm truly fine. Valerica reluctantly released my hand. Rest today. I'll handle Nyx's care myself. But that's in order. I couldn't argue. I just nodded and left. When I was alone in my quarters, I collapsed onto my bed. Queen Valerica is my fated mate, and I can never have her, because this was the novel's world. And in this world, political alliances mattered more than personal feelings. I was just a servant, and she was. I curled up on my bed, trying to process everything. The bond explained so much. Why Nyx had accepted me so readily. Why Valerica seemed drawn to me. Why every touch felt electric. But it also made everything impossible. In the novel, fated bonds were sacred, unbreakable. They caused physical pain when separated. The Omega and Alpha would be drawn together no matter what obstacles stood in their way. But Valerica didn't know. She was still planning to marry Aurora, still fulfilling her duty to the kingdom. And I was nobody, a forgotten character who had somehow stumbled into the main plot. Tears slipped down my cheeks. Not from sadness, exactly, but from the overwhelming complexity of it all. I had transmigrated into a novel, taken over someone else's life, and discovered I was fated to the one person I could never be with. What am I supposed to do? I whispered to the empty room. No answer came. Outside my window, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Beautiful. Peaceful. Unlike the storm raging inside my heart. Tomorrow, I would have to face Valerica again. Pretend everything was normal. Hide the bond that was growing stronger every day. And somehow I would have to survive this impossible situation, even if it broke my heart in the process. Over the next few days, I started creating distance. I handled Nyx during times when Valerica was busy elsewhere. If she appeared, I finished my work quickly and left. I avoided her gaze. I gave short answers to her questions. Because every time she was near me, the bond felt stronger, more intense, more impossible to ignore. But Valerica noticed. One afternoon, as I was saying goodbye to Nyx and preparing to leave, Valerica blocked my path. You're avoiding me. It was a statement, not a question. No, Your Majesty. I'm just. Don't lie. Her tone was sharp. Her gray eyes pinned me in place. Before, you were comfortable around me. Now you barely look in my direction. Why? I couldn't answer. Valerica moved closer. Close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her body. Close enough that I could smell her, something like pine and winter air and a deeper, alpha undertone that made my omega instincts sing. Did I say something? Her voice was softer now. Almost vulnerable. Do something that made you uncomfortable? No, I said quickly. You haven't done anything wrong. I'm just what? I'm falling in love with you and I'm terrified. But I couldn't say that. I'm remembering my boundaries, Your Majesty. I finally managed. I'm a servant. And you're the queen. Engaged. I should remember my place. Valerica's expression hardened. Your place. She repeated the words like they tasted bitter. Yes. She stepped back. The distance between us felt like miles. And what if I told you, she said slowly, that I don't care about boundaries? My heart stopped beating. Valerica caught my wrist gently but firmly. Her gray eyes burned into mine. Raven, you're unlike anyone else. When I'm with you, I feel different. And I don't understand why. Your Majesty. A guard interrupted. Your Majesty, Princess Aurora requests your immediate presence. The final preparations for the engagement ceremony require your approval. Valerica's jaw tightened. She released my wrist. We'll talk about this later, she said. Then she was gone. I stood there alone, trying to calm the racing of my heart. This is getting more complicated. The next day brought the engagement ceremony. The grand hall had been completely transformed. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, their light reflecting off gold decorations everywhere. Flowers in white and cream covered every surface. Nobles, diplomats, and powerful families filled the space, dressed in their finest. This wasn't just a ceremony. It was a political statement. I stayed in the background with the other servants, hoping nobody would notice me. My preheat symptoms had faded with suppressants, but my emotions were still raw, still close to the surface. On the stage, Valerica and Aurora stood together. They looked perfect. A beautiful couple. Aurora wore a stunning white and gold gown that made her look radiant. Valerica stood in her royal armor, commanding, powerful, cold. But when I looked into Valerica's eyes, I saw no happiness there. Only duty. Only obligation. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. Speeches were given. Toasts were made. Blessings were offered. And then Aurora made an announcement. I want to make something clear before everyone here. Aurora smiled, but her eyes were cold as ice. My stomach clenched. Aurora looked directly at me. Pointed. Bring that Omega here. Whispers erupted. Guards approached me. No, I whispered. They pulled me forward to stand before the stage. Everyone's eyes were on me, judging, curious, hostile. This servant, Aurora announced loudly, has been attempting to seduce Queen Valerica. Gasps filled the hall. Murmurs of shock. That's a lie. I protested. I haven't done anything. Silence, Aurora said sharply. You've been using your Omega pheromones deliberately to manipulate the queen. I haven't. You want proof? Aurora produced a small vial. This was found in your quarters. Scent enhancers. You've been deliberately strengthening your scent. It was planted. I looked at Valerica. Pleading. Desperate. But she remained silent. Her face was unreadable. Please, I whispered. Say something, Your Majesty. Aurora smiled sweetly, touching Valerica's hand. This Omega is dangerous. Duke Cassander, a powerful noble, stood up. If these accusations are true, this Omega must be punished. Exile. Or worse. Others nodded. Murmurs of agreement spread through the hall. My eyes filled with tears, but I wouldn't cry. Not here. Not in front of these people. I've done nothing wrong, I said clearly, keeping my voice steady. If my presence is a problem, I'll leave on my own. But I won't accept these false accusations. Aurora smirked. Brave words for someone so powerless. Silence hung in the air. Then, enough. Queen Valerica's voice echoed through the hall like thunder. Everyone fell silent. Valerica removed Aurora's hand from hers and stepped to the center of the stage. Her gray eyes swept across the crowd, cold, commanding, absolute. Raven has committed no crime, Valerica stated firmly. Aurora's smile faltered. But my queen, the proof. Proof can be fabricated. Valerica cut her off, her eyes cold. And I take these accusations very seriously. Therefore, I will conduct a proper investigation. She looked across the entire hall. Authority radiated from her. Until the investigation is complete, no one will harm Raven. No one will touch her. This is my order. My breath caught. She was protecting me. Aurora's face turned red, anger, humiliation. The nobles looked uncomfortable. More whispers. Valerica looked at me for 1 second, just one, and her mask cracked. I saw it. Concern. Protection. Something deeper. Then she returned to her cold expression. The ceremony is postponed, Valerica announced. Until this matter is resolved. She looked at Aurora. We'll speak privately later. Then she left the stage, leaving everyone in shocked silence. I didn't know what to feel. Relief. Confusion. Fear. Because now everyone knew Queen Valerica had chosen me. In the middle of the ceremony. In front of everyone. And this was the beginning of something I couldn't predict. That night, when I was alone in my quarters, someone knocked on my door. I opened it nervously. Valerica stood there. Plain clothes, no crown, no armor. Just her. May I come in? She asked. I nodded. She entered. I closed the door. Silence. Tension filled the small room. What happened today? Valerica began, but her words seemed stuck. Thank you, I said softly. You saved me. I couldn't lose you. She finally admitted it, looking into my eyes, vulnerable in a way I had never seen before. When Aurora accused you, when everyone talked about punishing you, my entire body reacted. Rage. Protective instinct. Something I can't explain. My throat tightened. Valerica came closer. Very close. Raven, tell me the truth. Have you felt it too? This pull. I couldn't speak, but my eyes said everything. Valerica cupped my face gently, tenderly. Her thumbs brushed my cheekbones. I don't know what this is, she whispered, but I know that you came into my life and everything changed. Valerica. I used her name. For the first time. Without the title. Her breath caught. I'm your fated mate, I finally confessed. Tears flowed freely. Dr. Estelle confirmed it. But I didn't tell you because you're already engaged. And I didn't want to complicate your duty. Valerica's eyes widened. Shock. Then realization. Fated mate, she repeated. You've known this whole time? Yes. And you hid it from me? Because I wanted to protect you. The words tumbled out between sobs. Your responsibility. Your kingdom. I'm just a servant. I didn't want to. Valerica kissed me. Sudden. Desperate. Passionate. My first kiss in this world. And it was perfect. Her lips were soft but insistent, claiming, tasting. Her hands slid into my hair, holding me close. The world dissolved around us. There was nothing but her, nothing but this. When she finally pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. Both of us breathing hard. You're not just a servant, she whispered. You're my mate. Mine. But Aurora. I don't care about Aurora. Valerica's voice was firm. Political alliance. Duty. Everything is meaningless if you're not here. She looked into my eyes, intense, honest, raw. Raven, I'm in love with you. The world stopped. She said it. I'm in love with you. My tears flowed harder. I love you too, I whispered. Valerica pulled me tight into her arms. Her scent surrounded me, pine and winter air and home. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Just fated mates. Finally together. The next morning, when I woke, Valerica had already left. But she'd left a note on my pillow, written in elegant, decisive handwriting. Trust me. I'll make everything right. I was nervous. Excited. Scared. What was she planning to do? I got my answer by afternoon. An emergency court assembly. All nobles, diplomats, and important figures were summoned immediately to the palace throne room. I was there too, at Valerica's request. But this time, I wasn't in the servants' area. I was standing near the throne. Everyone's confused and judgmental eyes were on me. Aurora stood in a corner of the stage, her face red with anger. Valerica sat on her throne. Then she stood. The reason I've gathered everyone here is important, Valerica began, her voice clear and authoritative. What happened yesterday, the accusations, the drama, brought one crucial truth to light. Everyone's attention focused on her. I am breaking my engagement with Princess Aurora. Gasps. Shouts. Chaos erupted. Aurora's face went completely pale. What? No, this can't happen. Valerica ignored her. The reason is simple, she continued. I've found my fated mate. She extended her hand toward me. Raven Ashford. My true mate. My partner. My future consort. Complete silence filled the hall. Then an explosion of reactions. This is an insult. Aurora screamed. A servant? You're choosing a servant over me. Yes, Valerica said calmly. Because she's my destiny. Duke Cassander stood. Your Majesty, this is political suicide. Breaking the alliance will. The alliance will adapt. Valerica's tone was firm. And I'll forge new ones. But I won't sacrifice my mate. Aurora rushed toward me, pure hatred in her eyes. You did this. You seduced her. No. Valerica blocked her path, stepping between us. Protective. Raven did nothing. Her voice was ice. This is biology. Destiny. And if anyone has a problem with that, she looked across the entire court. The door is right there. The tension was unbearable. But then Duke Laurent, a respected and fair noble, stood. Your Majesty, she said slowly. Fated bonds, they are sacred. Rare throughout history. The strongest empires were built by rulers who chose their fated mates. She looked at me. Respectful. If this is truly a fated bond, then we should support it. Some nobles reluctantly nodded. Valerica gave Laurent a grateful look. Thank you, Duke Laurent. Then she took my hand. Publicly. In front of everyone. Raven Ashford is officially declared royal consort designate, Valerica announced. The bonding ceremony will take place in 1 month. My head was spinning. Royal consort. Bonding ceremony. This is really happening. Aurora was having a complete breakdown. Her handmaidens tried to support her as the court slowly dispersed, reactions ranging from shock to disapproval to curiosity. And a few, looked almost happy. When we were alone, Valerica pulled me into her arms. Is this real? I whispered. Completely real, she said, kissing my forehead. You're mine. Officially. My eyes filled with tears, but this time from happiness. The following weeks were challenging. Nobles had mixed reactions. Some were supportive. Some were resentful. Aurora left the palace, but she left behind threats, both political and personal. But Valerica always protected me. She gave me tutors to teach me royal etiquette. She provided me with a royal wardrobe, soft fabrics in deep blues and silvers. She gave me respect. She gave me herself. And every night, when we were alone in her chambers, when the doors were closed and the world was shut out, she would hold me and whisper different words each time. You're my reason for everything. I never knew what I was missing until you. Stay with me. Always. Sometimes her alpha instincts surfaced. She would nuzzle into my neck, breathing deeply, her arms wrapped around my waist. She would murmur how good I smelled, how she wanted to mark me, claim me, make me hers in every way. But she never pushed. Never demanded. Not until the ceremony, she said one night, her voice rough with restraint. I want it to be right. I want you to feel safe. I loved her more for that restraint than for anything else. The night before the bonding ceremony, we were in the gardens together. Nyx was with us, coiled peacefully nearby, her massive head resting in my lap. Tomorrow, Valerica said, holding my hand. Everything becomes official. Are you nervous? I asked. No. She smiled, rare and beautiful, the kind of smile she only showed me. I'm looking forward to it. Me too. She pulled me close, wrapping her arms around me. Raven, you've transformed my world. When you arrived, when you first touched Nyx that day, my heart knew something then. Knew what? What did it know? That you were mine. Her voice dropped lower. Always have been. I kissed her soft, sweet, promising. I'm yours, I whispered. Always will be. That night, under the stars, in my fated mate's arms, I finally felt at peace. The bonding ceremony day finally arrived. The palace had been completely transformed. White and silver decorations adorned every surface. Moonflowers, which represented fated bonds, hung in elegant arrangements. Soft music played in the background. And most importantly, there was genuine acceptance in the air. Duke Laurent had personally helped organize the ceremony. She ensured everything was respectful and beautiful. I wore white and silver robes, traditional Omega bonding attire. Simple yet elegant. My heart raced with anticipation. Are you ready? Dr. Estelle asked, checking my final preparations. As ready as I'll ever be. I gave her a nervous smile. Raven. She took my hand. You're incredibly brave. And you deserve all this happiness. I hugged her. Thank you. For everything. The ceremony took place in the royal gardens, the very place where I'd first seen Nyx. Where everything had begun. Guests were seated. Nobles who were now supportive. Staff members who smiled encouragingly. And some common people who had been invited, Valerica's idea. She wanted this to be more than just an elite event. And at the altar, Valerica stood waiting. She wore silver and black ceremonial robes, traditional alpha attire, but fitted to her tall frame in a way that made her look both powerful and elegant. Her silver crown sat perfectly on her head. But her eyes, they were focused only on me. As I walked down the aisle, soft music played around us. Everyone's eyes were on me. But I only saw Valerica. When I reached her, she took my hand. You look absolutely stunning, she whispered. My face grew warm. So do you. The ceremony was conducted by Elder Priestess Miriam, a respected and wise woman who considered fated bonds sacred. Today, Miriam began. We witnessed two souls brought together by destiny. A bond formed through biology, fate, and love. She looked at Valerica and me. Queen Valerica Blackridge, do you accept Raven Ashford as your fated mate, partner, and equal? Yes, Valerica said clearly. Her eyes locked on mine. I accept. For all of my life. Miriam turned to me. Raven Ashford, do you accept Queen Valerica Blackridge as your fated mate, partner, and equal? My voice was steady. Strong. Yes, I accept. For all of my life. Miriam smiled. Then let the bonding ritual begin. She produced a ceremonial blade, silver and ornate. This is symbolic, she explained. An exchange of blood. An exchange of life. Valerica offered her palm first. Miriam carefully made a small cut. Then mine. Valerica and I pressed our bleeding palms together. Instantly, a surge of energy flowed through me. Warmth. Connection. Completion. My entire body felt like it was glowing. I could feel Valerica, feel her strength, her love, her devotion. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. Mate, my Omega instincts purred. Safe. Home. Forever. Valerica's eyes widened. She felt it too. I could see it on her face, the wonder, the awe, the overwhelming rightness of it. Miriam wrapped our joined hands with a silver ribbon. By blood, by fate, by choice, I now pronounce you bonded mates. Applause erupted. Cheers filled the air. Valerica pulled me into her arms and kissed me. Deep. Passionate. Claiming. When we separated, my eyes were filled with tears, but these were tears of joy. I adore you, Valerica whispered. I adore you too, I whispered back. The reception was equally beautiful. There was music, dancing, delicious food. Duke Laurent personally offered her congratulations. You two are perfect for each other, she said. Common people approached with blessings. A small girl gave me flowers. You're so beautiful, Consort Raven, she said. My heart melted. As evening fell and guests began leaving, Valerica and I found ourselves alone in the gardens. Nyx was there too, her head resting in my lap. This was absolutely perfect, I said. Yes, Valerica agreed, holding me close. And now your real life begins. Real life. Yes. Royal consort responsibilities. Public duties. But she cupped my face. We face everything together. Always. Always, I repeated. She kissed me again. Gentle. Loving. Home. 6 months later. Life had settled into a new rhythm. I was now Royal Consort Raven. I had my own office, my own staff. I focused on charity work, especially Omega rights and education. The nobles had slowly accepted me. Some had even become genuine friends. As for Aurora, she'd married into another kingdom. Valerica ensured she received a fair settlement. We were civil now. No lingering animosity. And Valerica and I? We were strong. Happy. Deeply in love. Every day, she found new ways to surprise me. Small gestures, fresh flowers on my pillow, my favorite desserts at dinner, handwritten notes left on my desk. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Every day with you is a gift. I love you. Always. And at night, we slept in each other's arms. Safe. Loved. Complete. Sometimes, the bond would pull us together, urgent, undeniable. Her alpha instincts would surface, and she would hold me tighter, breathe deeper, whisper how much she needed me. And I would let her. Want her too. Because she was my mate. And I was hers. One afternoon, while I was in the gardens with Nyx, Valerica approached with a smile. Raven, she said warmly. Do you remember when you first arrived? When you touched Nyx for the first time? Of course. I smiled back. That day changed everything. Exactly. She took my hand. You didn't just win Nyx's heart. You captured mine too. That's rather romantic, I teased. But true, she said, kissing me softly. I laughed. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't just a forgotten Omega anymore. I was Queen Valerica Blackridge's fated mate. I was her consort, her partner, her equal. And this story, which wasn't in the original novel, this was our story. A story written with love, destiny, and choice. 1 year later, as I stood on the palace balcony watching the sunset, Valerica came up behind me. What are you thinking about? She asked, wrapping her arms around me. Just everything. I leaned back against her. A year ago, I was in a different world. Alone. Lost. And now I turned to look at her, smiled, now I'm home. Valerica held me tighter. Yes, you're home. My home. The sun set over the kingdom, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Nyx coiled contentedly at our feet. We held each other close. Forever mates. Forever together. I had been transmigrated into a novel as a forgotten character, but I'd found something the original story never had. True love. Real acceptance. A purpose that mattered. And as I looked at the life we'd built together, the changes we were making for Omegas across the kingdom, the genuine happiness we shared, the future stretching before us, I knew one thing for certain. I would never want to go back to my old world. Because here, with Valerica, with Nyx, with the friends and purpose I'd found here, I was exactly where I belonged. The novel's plot had changed completely. The forgotten servant had become the beloved consort. The cold alpha queen had found warmth and love. And our story? It was just beginning. Sometimes people ask if I miss my previous world. The answer is no. That world had comfort, familiarity. But it didn't have Valerica. It didn't have Nyx. It didn't have purpose. This world was terrifying at first. confusing, overwhelming. But it became mine. And I am finally, truly, completely happy. Not because I'm living in a novel, but because I chose to write my own story. And what a beautiful story it's become. An epilogue. 1 year after the bonding ceremony. The morning light filtered through the curtains of our shared chambers, soft and golden. I woke slowly, wrapped in warmth, Valerica's arms around my waist, her breath warm against my neck, her scent everywhere. Pine and winter air and something deeper. Something that meant home. She was still asleep. That was rare. My alpha, my mate, usually woke before dawn, attending to duties before the rest of the palace stirred. But lately, she'd been sleeping later, staying closer, as if the bond had settled into something deeper, something that made her want to linger. I turned carefully in her arms, facing her. Sleep softened her sharp features. The furrow between her brows, always present during the day, was smoothed away. Her silver hair spread across the pillow like moonlight. She looked younger like this, vulnerable. My heart ached with how much I loved her. I traced my fingers lightly along her jaw, feather-soft, not wanting to wake her. But her eyes fluttered open anyway, gray and warm, finding mine immediately. "Good morning," she murmured, voice rough with sleep. "Good morning, my queen." She pulled me closer, burying her face in my hair. "You're watching me sleep again." "Maybe. That's strange. You love it." She huffed a laugh against my neck. "I love you." We stayed in bed longer than we should have. There was a council meeting at noon. Reports to review. Ambassadors arriving from the northern territories. But Valerica didn't move, and neither did I. Her fingers traced slow patterns on my back, lazy and possessive. "I had a dream about you last night," she said quietly. "What happened?" "You were in the gardens. With Nyx. The first time I saw you." I smiled. "I was terrified." "You didn't look terrified. You looked peaceful." Her gray eyes found mine. "Like you belonged there. Like you'd always been there." "Maybe I had," I said. "In some other version of things." Valerica didn't understand what I meant, couldn't understand, not really. She didn't know I had lived another life before this one. That I had read her story in a book before I ever touched Nyx's scales. But she didn't need to know. "Stay with me today," she said. "Skip the meetings." "I can't. I have the Omega Council at noon." "Postpone it." "Valerica, I'm the queen." She pressed a kiss to my forehead. "I'm allowed to be selfish sometimes." I laughed. "You're never selfish. I am about you." She rolled onto her back, pulling me on top of her. My hands braced on her shoulders. Her hands settled on my hips. The position was intimate, familiar. We had woken up like this 100 times. But every time still felt new. "Raven." Her voice dropped lower. "I need to tell you something." My heart stuttered. "What?" She was quiet for a long moment. Her thumbs traced circles on my hips. "Before you," she said slowly, "I didn't know what I was missing. I thought duty was enough. I thought the kingdom was enough. I thought." She stopped. Swallowed. "I thought I wasn't capable of feeling this. This? Love." The word came out rough. The way it consumes you. The way it makes you want to protect someone more than you want to protect yourself. The way it makes you weak, her grip tightened, but also stronger than you've ever been. My throat tightened. "Valerica, I never thanked you." Her gray eyes were bright, almost wet. "For finding me. For staying. For choosing me when I gave you every reason to leave. I would never leave." "I know." She pulled me down, kissing me softly. "That's what I'm thanking you for." The council meeting happened anyway. Valerica attended. I attended my Omega Council. We met in the corridor afterward, between chambers, and she took my hand without thinking the way she always did now. Public. Unashamed. The guards didn't blink anymore. The servants smiled. We had changed things. Not just for ourselves, for everyone. The new laws passed last month gave Omega servants the right to education. The shelter I'd founded in the lower city was already full. And the young Omega girl who had given me flowers at our bonding ceremony was now the first Omega apprentice in the palace library. "You're changing everything," they told me. But I wasn't changing anything. I was just living, loving, trying to be worthy of the life I'd been given. That evening, we walked in the gardens. Nyx slithered beside us, massive and content. Her scales caught the last light of the setting sun, gleaming like black glass. Occasionally, she would brush against my leg, affectionate, possessive in her own snake way. "The northern ambassadors were impressed with you," Valerica said. "Were they?" "They expected a quiet consort who stayed in the background." She glanced at me, smirking. "Instead, they got you arguing trade policy and correcting their geography." I didn't correct them. I simply provided additional context. You corrected them. It was attractive. I felt my face warm. "You're biased." "Completely." She stopped walking, turning to face me. "But that doesn't make it untrue." The sun hung low on the horizon, painting everything in shades of orange and gold. The garden was quiet, just us, just Nyx, just the wind moving through the trees. Valerica reached up and cupped my face. "Marry me again," she said. "What?" "Not officially. Not with courts and ceremonies." Her thumb brushed my cheekbone. "Just here. Now. Just us." I didn't understand. "We're already bonded." "I know." She smiled, soft, private, the smile she kept only for me. "But I want to promise you again. Every day. Every morning. Every time I look at you." My eyes burned. "Valerica. Raven Ashford." She took my hands. Her gray eyes held mine, steady and sure. "I promise to choose you. Every day. Even when it's hard. Even when duty pulls me away. Even when I'm tired or scared or uncertain." Tears slipped down my cheeks. "I promise to protect you, not because you're weak, but because you're precious. I promise to listen to you, to learn from you, to let you change my mind when I'm wrong." She squeezed my hands. "I promise to love you. Not the way the poets write about, not easy or simple, but the real way. The way that stays. The way that fights. The way that grows." I couldn't speak. I could barely breathe. "So," she smiled, "will you marry me again?" I laughed through my tears. "Yes. Obviously yes." She kissed me. Soft and deep and full of everything she'd just said. Nyx coiled around our feet, content. The sun dipped below the horizon. And I thought, in my old world, I read about love like this. I never believed it existed. Now I know. It exists. It found me. It chose me. And I will never let it go. Later that night, we lay in bed together. The candles had burned low. Nyx was curled in her corner of the room, asleep. The palace was quiet. Valerica's fingers traced idle patterns on my stomach. Her head rested on my chest. I played with her silver hair, twisting strands around my fingers. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking about how strange it is." "What is?" "This." I gestured vaguely. "Us. How I almost didn't find you. You would have found me." Her voice was certain. "The bond would have pulled you here eventually." "Maybe." I kissed the top of her head. "But I'm glad it happened the way it did." "Nyx. The gardens. You watching me from the shadows like a creep." She pinched my side. I wasn't creeping. I was observing. "Same thing." "Hush." I laughed. She lifted her head, gray eyes meeting mine in the dim light. "I mean it, Raven." Her voice was serious again. "I'm glad it happened the way it did too. I wouldn't change anything. Even the hard parts? Especially the hard parts." She settled back against my chest. They made me appreciate the good parts more. We lay there in comfortable silence. The bond hummed between us, warm, steady, alive. I could feel her contentment. her love, her safety, the same way she could feel mine. This is what I crossed worlds for, I thought. This is what I stayed for. Not the palace. Not the title. Not the magic or the destiny. Her. Just her. 2 years after the bonding ceremony, I stood on the palace balcony, watching the sunrise. Valerica was still asleep, exhausted from negotiations with the southern kingdoms. I had left her curled in our bed, covers tangled around her legs, hair spread across the pillow. Beautiful. Always beautiful. Nyx slithered up beside me, resting her massive head on the balcony railing. I scratched behind her scales, the way she liked. "You're getting old," I told her. She hissed, offended. "You are. But I still love you." She bumped her head against my hand, forgiving me immediately. Footsteps behind me. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The bond told me, warm and bright, and hers. "You're up early," Valerica said, wrapping her arms around me from behind. "You're up later than usual." Negotiations. She yawned against my shoulder. "The Southern ambassador talks too much. I've noticed." We stood together, watching the sun rise over the kingdom. Her chin rested on my shoulder. Her arms held me close. "Raven." "Yes, thank you." "For what?" She was quiet for a moment. "For existing," she said finally. "For being here. For being mine." I turned in her arms, facing her. Her gray eyes were soft, vulnerable, the way they only were with me. "You're welcome," I said. "And thank you. For being worth staying for." She kissed me. Slow and sweet. The sun rose higher. The kingdom woke below us. And I, the forgotten servant, the background character, the nobody, stood in the arms of my alpha, my queen, my mate. And I had never been happier. The end.